may perform its high duty as in thy sight. Give divine guidance to the President of the Republic, thou members of Parliament and Ministers of State, discernment and vision, integrity and courage, that through the labors of government this land and people may be well and peace, and thy good purposes for the common human life be realized in our midst. O God, grant us a vision of our country, where as it might be, a country of righteousness, where none shall wrong his neighbor, a country of plenty, where evil and poverty shall be done away, a country of brotherhood, where all success shall be founded on service, and honor shall be given to the deserving, a country of peace, where government shall rest on the will of the people and the love for common good. Raise the effort of those who struggle to make this vision a living reality. Inspire and strengthen our people that they may give time, touch, and sacrifice to speak the day of the coming beauty of God. Honorable members, let's turn to item number 4 on today's order paper, that is correction of votes and proceedings and official report. Shall we begin with correction of votes? Page 1. Page 2. Page 3. Page 4. Page 5. Page number 6. Page 7. Page 8. Page 9. Page 10. Page number 11. Page 12. Page 13. Page 14. Yes, honorable member for Bill.
Mr. Speaker, page 14, item 2, attendance, Roman number 2. I think it should be Mrs., not Miss. And then the first one says Mrs. Samuel Atta. That should also be Mr., not Mrs. So Roman number 1 should be Mr., and Roman number 2 should be Mrs.
Very well. Table, please take note. So we turn to page number 15. page 16. Page 17. And finally, page 18. Honorable members, in the absence of any further corrections, the votes and proceedings of the 14th sitting held yesterday, Wednesday, the 16th February 2022, are adopted as a true record of proceedings. Shall we turn to official report of 3rd February 2022? I believe members are having copies. Official report of 3rd February 2022. The official report of 3rd February 2022. Honorable members, in the absence of any corrections, the official report of 3rd February 2022 is hereby adopted as a true record of proceedings. Yes. Leadership, shall we move on to item number 5?
Yes, Mr. Speaker. Item number 6, statement. Item statement.
So item number 5.
Item number 5, statement.
Very well. Honorable members, the Speaker has adopted or has admitted 4 statements for today. And we are beginning with the one from a member for Nsawem Adwajiri. He's not here.
Honorable Speaker, the member.
Very well.
He read it. Okay.
Very well.
Speaker, that has been
It's
read.
a member for Takoradi, Priscilla Hunivali, also around. Priscilla Hunivali is also not around. What about Offenso South? Very well. Offenso South, let's hear you. That is a tribute in honor of the late Nana Wiafia Kente, the second of my of Offenso traditional area. So, honorable member, you have the floor. You may read your tribute.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for the opportunity to pay a tribute in honor of the late Nana Wiafia Kente III, Omanhene of Offenso traditional area. It is with deep sorrow that I pay tribute to Nana Wiafia Kente III. Mr. Speaker, the late Nana Wiafia Kente III was the Omanhene of Offenso traditional area who reigned for 28 years, from 1993 to 2021. Nana was born at Tutuase, Old Offenso, in 1936 and passed on to glory on 1st October 2021 after a short illness at St. Patrick's Hospital in Offenso. Nana was known in private life as Anthony Kwesi Mensah. He had his primary education at Offenso Roman Catholic School and secondary education at Ekwapeman Secondary School. Upon leaving school, Mr. Speaker, Nana was compelled to travel around with his uncle to several towns and cities, including Sunyani, Wenchi, Kintampo, Takrade, and later Lagos, Nigeria, for many years. Mr. Speaker, during his private life, Nana worked as a mason, a storekeeper with glamour stores in Kumasi, and later on as a timber merchant. He was the financial secretary of the Offensoman Association in Kumasi and was deeply involved in the initiation of a number of development projects by the association. Mr. Speaker, upon the demise of his uncle Nana Wiafia Kenten II in 1993, the energetic and handsome Mr. Anthony Kwesi Mensah in November 1993 was installed as Offenso Mainhene under the stool name Nana Wiafia Kenten III. Nana's nomination and subsequent approval came as no surprise, as he was well versed in Asante history, culture, and tradition. His installments and oath swearing in Offenso and in Kumasi were peaceful, colorful, exciting, and climaxed with the largest train of chiefs ever to swear before the Asantehene Otumfuo Opokuwari II during his reign. Mr. Speaker, due to his God-given wisdom, humility, integrity, leadership qualities, and eloquence in speech, the late Otumfuo Opokuwari II chose him, Nana Wiafia Kenten III, to act as Asantehene between 1995 and 1999, whenever Otumfuo traveled outside Ghana. The depth of trust and confidence and the high responsibility Otumfuo reposed in him has forever left a positive mark. The positive mark was further reinforced in 1999 when Barry Makwaku Buer's request and plea to ascend the golden stool and assume the mantle of Asantehene was communicated by Nana Wiafia Kenten III to the late Asantehene Nana Efiaku Bisewa Ampim and accepted with dispatch, culminating in the enthronement of Otumfuo Osei II as Asantehene. Indeed, the late Omaihene became more or less the epitome of custom and tradition of the Ashanti region and Asante-Mine. With his traditional dancing, palanquin riding, oratory skills, as well as knowledge of customs and tradition, he represented the House of Chiefs and Otumfuo the Asantehene at 2 editions of the National Festival of Arts and Culture held at Bolgatanga and Tamale in 1998 and 2003, respectively. Mr. Speaker, during the reign of Nana Wiafia Kenten III as paramount chief, the Offenso traditional area experienced considerable progress as evidenced in several interventions and uncountable developmental projects. For effective and efficient administration of the Offenso traditional area, Nana Wiafia Kenten III created the Atipium tool to provide advice to the Omaihene. He created new stools and elevated several sub-chiefs to the status of chiefs to strengthen and ensure effective traditional leadership. He encouraged and mentored his sub-chiefs and ensured the judicious use of stool revenue for development. He streamlined land administration and land tenure system in the Offenso traditional area to avert land disputes. He developed the forecourt of Omaihene's palace into a beautiful edifice, which now serves as Deba and funeral grounds. He instituted the Moeninko Festival which is one of the most popular festivals in the Asante Kingdom. This festival, Mr. Speaker, has now gained both national and international recognition and acclaim, and is celebrated every other year. In terms of project, Mr. Speaker, Nana constructed the Ofenso Mainhema's Palace. He renovated the old traditional council building, which now serves as the offices for the district fire service. He constructed classrooms for the Sewa Nyako Vocational School in Ofenso. He constructed new banking hall and offices for the Ngwabiaja Rural Bank, Ofenso branch. He provided land for the establishment of garage and medium-scale industries. Right Honorable Speaker, Nana Wiafia Kenten III showed serious concern about the health of his people. He released an 80-acre land for the construction of a urology hospital, the first of its kind in the West African sub-region. He adopted a male ward at the St. Patrick's Catholic Hospital, Mercy Ofenso. He played an instrumental role in the establishment of the Ofensuman Health Insurance Scheme. He gave substantial assistance to the Nursing and Midwifery Training College at the Mercy Ofenso. He released land and buildings for the establishment of the Ambulance Service Training School at Nkem Kansu. He released land for the establishment of physically challenged training centers at Nkem Kansu and Mercy, all in Ofenso, to offer skill training and jobs for the physically challenged people in the society. Mr. Speaker, education was also a top priority of Nana Wiafia Kenten III. He established Ofenso Educational Fund in 1997 to provide financial assistance to the needy and brilliant students in the Ofenso traditional area. He assisted several students financially and materially to pursue vocational, secondary, and tertiary education. Many are in gainful employment now. He partnered the Member of Parliament for Ofenso North to construct a dormitory block for the Nkem Kansu Senior High School and the establishment of the Wiafia Kenten Senior High School at Afrancho. He donated furniture and refurbished the Ofenso Training College of Education. Mr. Speaker, protection of the environment was of paramount concern to Nana Wiafia Kenten III, and he would deeply be remembered as perhaps the only chief in the Asante Kingdom who stood firm and said no to galamsey in his traditional area. Indeed, Mr. Speaker, to date, there is no single galamsey activity in the entire Ofenso traditional area, even though gold deposits abound. Mr. Speaker, Nana was a unifier and welcomed everybody to his palace, irrespective of his or her political affiliation. Nana positively engaged with all governments during his reign for the benefit of his traditional area. Nana was a devout Christian and an active member of the Methodist Church. Nana Wiafia Kenten III will be dearly missed, not only by Ofensomai, but by Asanteman, and indeed the entire country. The late Omaihene will be laid in state from Tuesday the 22nd February to Thursday the 24th February 2022. On behalf of the Asuna family, the biological brothers, the Ochehene Osajifo Amotia Ofori, the Adusumai, Nana Kwaku Efriye Okese, the Manson Kwantahene, Nana B. Kusiapia, Beposo Maihene, Nana Buama Kwabi, the Ofenso Maihema, Nana Amasewa Nyako, the acting president of Ofenso Traditional Council, Nana Kwakudia II, and on my own part, I take this opportunity, Mr. Speaker, to invite all honorable members of this august house to come to Ofenso and mourn with us. Nana, rest well. Nana, rest in perfect peace. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, thank you very much. So, I was going to invite the first Asunaba in the house. So, let me invite member for Ebuakwa South, who is also a family member, to contribute to the tribute.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, for the opportunity to contribute to this solemn statement ably delivered by my good colleague. Honorable Speaker, today Ochiman joins forces with Asanteman to mourn this great king, Nana Wiafe Akenten. Honorable Speaker, history has it that when we talk about the Asuna people, we cut across regions. So, for instance, there's no denying the fact that it is Ochehene who is Asuna PSC, that means the head of the Asunas. And then it is important to note that we have one of the prominent Asante kings, who is also an Asuna, is the one that we are trying to eulogize this hour. So it is amazing that when people want to raise issues with a fight between tribes and the rest of them, it leaves much to be desired. Because in the Asanteman Council, with the greatest of respect, there's a prominent Asuna whose senior brother is Ochehene. And then also Ejosohene in the Asanteman Council. And they have traditional relationship with the Ochehene. I remember clearly that when the Ochehene was 20 years on the stool, the Ofori stool, the Itrie stool, where the power of that house is a leopard who has less pride than the lion. The leopard, Honorable Speaker, is the symbol of the Ochimans too. It's a very, very quiet animal. But no matter how hard you try, it can arrest you for lunch. It was a very interesting moment to see the whole retinue of elegant people who stormed Chebi, the headquarters of Achimabwakwa. And I know we are fair content. With the greatest of respect, may he so rest in peace, was such an elegant king. Well attired, and with the from dancing and the rest of it, he came to greet his elder brother. It was a very, very interesting moment for us. And you could see Ochehene standing up. Immediately he saw his brother, the one who is now gone to be with the ancestors, because he's come home. I am very excited that these bondings should never be lost. At no point in time should the Asunas fight. We are one people and we spread all over the country. Honorable Speaker, it also brings to mind the sanity in the Asante Kingdom. Because, as a matter of fact, if you are not very sure and you do not have the powers to embrace all manner of people, you can rule as the king of the Asantes. So how would you feel that in a very serious conclave, the Asunas are part of your thinking? And as he said also that even in one of the moments when the great Otumfuo was not in the realm, it was Ofisohene who was acting as the Asante. That is very, very interesting. If we have the time, we are very nervous about where this clan is coming from, where this tribe is coming from, and all the problems we go through when we want to act as a people. Honorable Speaker, let me touch on a few important things which are connected with this solemn statement. Is the political relevance of chieftaincy. Because when we were speaking, all that was running through my mind, that the measurement of a king is not the gold adornments and the kind of fonton from and the rest of it, but is he an agent of development? It's very important that we are no longer saying that the chiefs should take their guns and go and conquer territories. But the real thing that confronts any serious king, like if you look at how vast the land of Ofenso is, the real task is how the king is now fighting poverty in his kingdom. And I'm elated to hear that he decided to fight Galamsey, which was one of the ways that if we were not careful, the whole environment will be raped because of the appetite for profit. And I think I salute him for that fight, that we shouldn't pollute our river bodies in the name of commerce and profit. I am also excited to hear that for the sake of vocational education in the Ofenso kingdom, he released vast tracts of land for that purpose. That is, a king with developmental sense, that for development to come to his area, he has to see land for people to have mass education in the area of vocational education. And that was very interesting. The king was also fighting, ill health and challenges that people go through in terms of their health. And I'm also elated to hear that he was very instrumental in the provision of land for a very powerful hospital and organized the insurance which should go along the area for people to have insurance. He was very instrumental in providing the ambulance training school, and he also gave land for purposes of securing the ambulance training school. Right, Honorable Speaker, I'm about to resume my seat, and I would say that I personally was in good contact with Nana Wiafe Akente. This hour, a great Asuna has fallen, and the whole of the Asuna clan are mourning one of their senior members. My prayer is that we give him a befitting send-off. And all those who are connected with tradition should troop to Ofenso, and with the king of the Asantes, Utumfo himself, going to bid farewell to one of his generals, I think they will give him a befitting burial. My chief concern is always the aftermath of sending the king off. I pray to God that the one who should succeed him should be a man of stature, who will fit into his shoes or even do better. And all forms of acrimony associated with the aftermath of the send-off of a king should not be associated with an Abiafia Kente. Let Ofenso man show civility and diplomacy in trying to find something who is worth his name. Another, great Asuna to succeed the king who's left us. It is said that the Asuna people have good looks. And may I quote this proverb. I don't intend offense. They say, Osuna near Tiko, and this will be an. One of the clerks at table are wondering what I'm saying. That they say that for the Asuna people, they have good looks. And the back of the head is equal to somebody's face. I think this is a great Asuna, and we mourn him dearly. May his soul rest in peace. Honorable Speaker, I'm grateful for this opportunity.
Yeah. Thank you very much. Let him come to our brother Kofi. I'm told you are celebrating your birthday today. Is that right? Anyway, you celebrate you, but let's hear you.
Thank you, Speaker, for the opportunity. And somebody may be wondering why me from Oti and Buem will be contributing to a statement that have something to do with Offenso Hene. But this was a chief that was truly, I was very close to because of the work, my past activities as national organizer of our party. I went around the country with many leaders and therefore associated with him. Indeed, as has been said by previous speakers and the maker of the statement, Nana was a visionary leader and very much development-oriented. He really cared for his people so much and fought for development for the people of Offenso that there wasn't a time any leader will engage with him and you would not hear him asking for one development project or the other. Indeed, Mr. Speaker, in 2016, when we visited his palace with former President John Dramani Mahama, because of many development projects he has initiated in the Offenso area, Nana left his stool and took another chair and gave his stool to former President John Dramani Mahama to take that seat because he saw in him development for the people, for his people. He did that and it became news all over the country. I remember subsequently reading stories that Nana had taken the stool to do things for President Mahama to win, but that was not the case. It was because he cared so much about his people and he saw a lot of projects being initiated by then President for the development of the Offenso area. Notably, we all know of tomato growth in the Offenso area, especially Akuma Dam. So the government then got the Korean to do the first 60 acre of irrigated land for growth of tomatoes. And the phase 2 was to cover about 120 acres. But I'm told till now that has not seen the light of day. The intentions, together with Nana, was to see a serious tomato factory in the Offenso area to provide jobs for the people. And like has been said, it is all of us our hope that whoever will take after him will continue pushing for the development for his people. Mr. Speaker, if you remember in 2019, when the 2019 budget was read, he did indicate that when government was committing to do some roads in the Ashanti region, he, Nana, did not hear Offenso being mentioned. And he has to raise concern about it. It tells you who he was, that he will speak through to power for the purposes of getting development for his people. He never discriminated. And that was why, even though people may say that, okay, a particular area is not a stronghold of one particular party, when he saw that the president was doing so well there, he could give his seat, his stool, for him to sit on that day when we visited the palace. So if today he is passed on to join the ancestors, we can only say that Damri Fadye Nana. And to the maker of the statement, we thank you for bringing this and for stating even more facts about this great chief that some of us didn't know about. Truly, he served his people well and deserved the recognition from this house. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for the opportunity.
Thank you very much. Yes, let him come to Manson Kwanta. Are you also a SONA member?
Palmo Chief is also an Asuna.
Okay. Very well.
The Speaker of the Maker of the statement, big mention of him. And now you see Appiatse of Mazon.
So let's hear you.
Yeah, Mr. Speaker, I'm very grateful to you for giving opportunity to contribute to this important statement made by my colleague, Dr. Opoku. Indeed, Africa, Ghana, Asante, we have a lot to share when it comes to culture. Our cultural practices train us to be entrepreneurs, to be leaders, to be hardworking, respectful, humble, and carry on our activities. When you listen to the statement made by my friend, Dr. Opoku, concerning the time of Nana Appiatse, you notice that the man was well trained to be an entrepreneur, to be a leader who offered a very good service to his people. Nana Appiatse, as an entrepreneur, was a person who was amazing, later on became a human merchant, and followed his uncle, who trained him to be a hard-working person, and later on ascend to the throne of Ofori. Mr. Speaker, when you listen to this statement and you look at the culture of Ghana, particularly in the Akan areas, you will notice that we provide leadership in terms of political leadership, where our chiefs are endowed with such wisdom that they guide their people in terms of peaceful coexistence, where you hear that in the political system of the Asante and Akans, you was mentioning something like the chief of Oche Man. You look at Manson Kwanta Mahine, the Ajosu Mahine, the Meposu Mahine. That tells you that there's a form of federalism or unionism where chiefs come together to settle matters and ensure peace among their people. They ensure friendliness among their people. They contribute towards the economic development of their people. And that tells you that Africa has a lot to share. And I can say a lot of things were learned from us when the white faces act. They also learned something from us. So what are we doing as people when we come to Ghana, we come to Africa, and then we talk about governance? And we are not documenting all these things to tell our youth that in the old days, our forefathers, they lived peacefully in the political system. They were able to establish legislature whereby they build laws for the people. And when anything goes wrong, the chief will sit in seat and make sure that they settle these matters amicably. They offer judicial service where people were actually endowed with wisdom to carry on arbitration, to bring peace to the people, to go on about their activities in a peaceful way, ensure their security and well-being. Mr. Speaker, at the same time, they were philanthropists because Nana, as we heard, was able to organize his people to form an association where they contribute towards their education, they contribute to the needs of their children in terms of schooling and paying their school fees. Mr. Speaker, at the same time, when we talk about the issues of the past, our people were able to organize themselves into farming. And in the form of farming, they were able to rig themselves through the process of their farm to take care of their people. This was an innovation, entrepreneurial way of doing things. And you listen to the statement when I instituted the Mwandiko Festival, that also was an innovation who would bring people together, people from all walks of life, to celebrate the day, to ensure that they remember their past, and through that they position their towns to move forward economically, to bring development to their people. And one important thing that I'll mention about Nana was the attitude, concern, the ableness that Nana was able to ensure that Galamsey, which was destroying a lot of land, our water bodies and forests, Nana made sure that these activities were brought under control. Even though gold can be seen in the Ofori River, Nana protected the water bodies to ensure that the Barkasi Dam, which was the main source of water for the people of Kumasi, was protected. These are people that we have to emulate from them the rich experience that they are bequeathing to us. So on this note, Nana is bequeathing to his people through his leadership a protected landscape, a protected water bodies, protected forest and land. That means that whoever is going to take him from Nana will also ensure that his people will live by that accolade and ensure peaceful coexistence among them and all their siblings. Ensure that the legacy of Nana Appiatse will live on for us to learn from it. And I'll end by saying that it is time for Africa to learn from our leaders and document all our cultures, all the activities of past great people, and then make the youth to learn from them so that in future, Africa will be autonomous as we are craving for. We'll be independent economically, we'll be independent politically, and live on in peaceful manner. I'm very grateful, Mr. Speaker, for this opportunity.
Thank you very much. Let me come to Minority Chief Whip.
Mr. Speaker, I was. Oh, someone wanted to say something.
Somebody wanted.
Senator. You wanted to speak to them?
Yes.
Are you minded to allow
Senator, our sister.
Well. So, Honorable Member for Colleague Crotty.
Thank you, Right Honourable Speaker, for the opportunity to contribute to the statement made by the Honourable Member. And mine is only to say a few words. First of all, the fact that we are honouring a chief on the floor of Parliament is a testament to the legacy that he left behind. But the very fact that our Constitution recognizes the chieftaincy system, the fact that there's actually a ministry that is meant to oversee this particular institution, points to the fact that it is not a ceremonial institution, points to the fact that it's still very much alive and a part of our culture and our traditions. Mr. Speaker, on this occasion, as we celebrate the life and the legacy of such a chief, we must be reminded of the importance of the non-interference of politicians in the chieftaincy system. Too many times we find that across the country we have disputes within the chieftaincy system, and when a little bit of investigation is done, it's found that there is always some kind of a political twist to some of the chieftaincy disputes that we see across the country. Mr. Speaker, if the chieftaincy system in Ghana is meant to be complementary to that of our governments in place, the national governance system, then we must allow the chiefs the room to actually operate without so much political interference. As we look across the various traditional areas, of which mine is not exempt, the repeated political interference within the chieftaincy system is causing a lot of disunity, is causing a lot of unrest. And so if today we are celebrating the life of such an amazing traditional leader, let it remind us of the value of allowing those institutions to exist with a level of integrity that will allow them to be a sort of a check on the government, where they can raise issues with regards to their people's plight without necessarily being viewed as partisan, in spite of whatever their allegiances may be. And so on this occasion, as we pay tribute to this chief and we wish the family well, we also pray that it serves as a reminder to respect that institution, and for the institution itself, as we have our traditional leaders, to take advantage of this opportunity that they have, the official recognition in front of before the Constitution, to actually play their role to represent their people, to maintain law and order at their level as a complementary effort to what the government does. Thank you very much for the opportunity.
Thank you very much. Let me now come to Honorable Member for Aswasi.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, if I didn't contribute to this tribute, I'm sure the first Deputy Speaker will have organized a press conference to expose me. So it is in my own interest to eulogize a great king that's very accommodating. Mr. Speaker, I have known Nana Akantine for over 15 years. I knew him at a distance until I wanted a piece of land to cultivate cocoa. And as you may know, the difficulty in getting large tract of land for farming within Asante region, especially not far away from Kumasi. And I had to go through the Nkwantakese Hene to Nana Wiafia Kenten. And graciously, they managed to get me the current 130-acre cocoa farm that I own in that area. Since then, I've visited him annually. Every year, either before Christmas or after Christmas or early New Year, I'll visit him. Until COVID came. So unfortunately, 2020 and 2021, I couldn't visit. And the last time he called and said, as brutal as he is, Frank, hey, and you want to go over COVID, you want to go over Muhammad, what I have to wait. Hey, you are taking advantage of COVID, and the little that you come and give me, you are refusing to come and see me. And we laughed over it, and I promised that Nana will surely come. Unfortunately, I've not been able to visit him until his demise. Mr. Speaker, not to repeat a lot that has been said about him, this was a king that I later turned him to be like a father because of his advice to those of us who were in politics. Each time I visited him, if you didn't have time, don't visit Nana. Because he will take you through lessons of history, things that are happening in our country, try to even explain sometimes things that are happening today that you may not know the genesis and how they all start or how they started. And I remember very vividly this why he had followed his uncle, and people were saying that, oh, the uncle has trained him. In fact, the uncle was in exile because of heavy politicking. When government changed, they were virtually harassed, and the uncle has to leave. They have to virtually sneak out of this country. And he was a very dedicated nephew to his uncle, and he would just not let his uncle go alone. And I remember he would tell me, so sometimes when you see people are great, or today people are being respected, or people are being revered, it is because of the service that they have provided. And he would tell me that it is not for nothing that when he was to inherit his uncle, it was like a unanimous thing. Because everyone who knew his uncle, it was not possible for you to know his uncle without knowing him, because of the dedication and service that he rendered to his late uncle. And was encouraging me that, look, it pays to serve. You can only be served when you have dedicated time to serve others. That's the only time that others will serve you. And this was a very great king with a lot of wisdom. The Speaker, I must admit, he was very strategic in his effort to get his area developed. And the usual thing that you get a lot of our chiefs to do, after we are party A. So if party B is there, they even close their mind and will not even make the effort to reach out. No, not Nana. Nana didn't bother whether you were NDC or MPP or whatever. Once there's something that he can use you to get, especially to his people, Nana will pursue it. And I remember very well that when NDC was in power and the official township rules had to be done. And NDC. People were to it, oh, now that Nana has gone to join the NDC, that's why they are doing this to him. So, well, I'm fighting to get my place developed. And you are talking about partisanship. He wouldn't just mind. He would just not mind. I remember very well, Mr. Speaker, when the contract was awarded for Kumasi Techima Highway, the contractor, I think, I don't remember where we were, but it's MSF or something. They have to, have a very large chunk of land as their yard, as you may know. So they set up the yard at the Kenkianso. And when they completed, and they now have to hand over this yard to the ministry, a lot of agencies were fighting for it. I remember Ministry for Tourism, the Tourism Authority wanted it, the Nursing Training School wanted it, and I remember my colleague, Honorable Collinson team, was then were on the health committee together, and that time was a deputy ranking for the health committee. Before I realized, even though I will not say a lot of the unconventional things that he did, somersaulted the money to get Nana to give this for the ambulance service. And we were all happy that it was going for the ambulance training. And I remember very well that the National Health Insurance Authority had to even pay the few compensations and other things just to get it formalized and handed over to the National Ambulance Service. Mr. Speaker, this wouldn't have been possible without the tacit effort of Nana Biafra Kenten III. He was really, really development oriented, and I must say we've lost a great king. It may be very difficult to get a replica, but it is our hope that whoever may be taking over from him may learn from him. Because if you look at the number of years that he has done, yes, people say 28 years is a long period, but if you go to the Ofori traditional area and compare the 28 years that he has done and the number of things that have stood in his name or through his effort are standing within the traditional area, you marvel that others have done more than 40 years in their traditional area. They don't have a quarter of what he's showing to show to their people. And Mr. Speaker, let's not discount this. Very significant that it is one of the traditional areas in Asanteman that there's not a single galamsey site. Single galamsey site. Not because there are no gold. There are no gold deposits there. But this was an Anumahini who stood his ground. And yes, money is sweet, but he would not allow the environment to be degraded simply because people want to exploit the minerals within his traditional area and then mess everything up. So you go to that traditional area, a lot of us who are farming in that area, cocoa, cashew, and what have you, that he willingly, he was willing to give me 200 acres to do maize. He will tell you, if you want to do A, I'll get you B. But if you want to exploit and destroy the environment, no, you can't get Nana to give you that. And I want to urge a lot of our landowners and chiefs to emulate a king like Nana Biafra III, that he had lived a very exemplary life. And truly, truly, he deserved this statement that is being made on the floor of Parliament, because he did not put himself ahead of his people. He did not put the land to be destroyed in the name of money. He did serve with dignity. And truly, truly, Nana has done his very best. It is my prayer that as we eulogize him today, when the funeral is in, we'll find time to fully be represented as a house, to make sure that when people are doing the right thing, we project that, as against those who think that they can just do any dubious thing, make money, and then life is as usual, everybody will be treated equally. When people live such an exemplary life, we need to really show that what they've done is appreciated by the state. That's the only way you can encourage others to do it. But if it is just life as usual, whether you are a crook, whether you are the type that really serve dedicatedly, once we die, that's it. I don't think we'll encourage our citizens to be doing the best that they could for their people, for their community. And for Nana, I must say he's really served with a lot of pride. He's done his very best for his people, And for people like us, like me, who through him have a place where today we can apply our business, have our cattle, have our farm, and be able to also support the food production and other things that are being done in our country. We thank him sincerely, because if he had denied us the opportunity, I don't think we would have been able to do what we've done. So, Mr. Speaker, with this comment, I want to say that a giant has fallen, a big oak tree has fallen, and we wish the whole of Asantemai well. We pray that during his funeral there will be no any incident. It will be peaceful, and his replacement will be a great person that, if not at least be able to do better than him, will try to match the good works that he has done. Nana, Demifredwe, Nantie. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you very much. I saw the member for offensive of rushing him. I don't know who hinted him that the tribute was being read. I think I have to give him the opportunity, else his members will not forgive him. So, honorable member, let's hear you.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker, for indulging me. Indeed, I really want to appreciate Honorable Butaka. I was just at the ministry in a meeting when he called that there's a tribute going on, so I had to suspend. And I really thank you for indulging me. Honorable Speaker, I also want to thank my brother and colleague, the Member of Parliament for Finso South, for coming out with a statement just to eulogize an icon of Ofinsoman, an icon of Asanteman, and a true icon of Ghana. Mr. Speaker, I happened to come face to face with the Omahin Nanawiafia Kenten III in 2005 when I was appointed as a young man, a chief executive for Ofinso traditional area in 2005. Indeed, through that interactions, I realized that Nana Wiafia Kenten, it's certainly an embodiment of tradition. It's an embodiment of culture. It's someone who also is so much desirous to seek development to any of the communities within the Ofinso. And one of the things that he used to tell me is that when we're talking about Ofinso, it stretches from Ano to Tuase down through to Ofori and Akumadan to Ikoyi. And for that matter, all he needs from us as a rep, a government rep, district chief executive, MPs, is to see development. And it is that which will acknowledge what he wants to leave as a legacy to Ofinsoman, such that in the times when he's no longer a chief, or when he passes on as it's happening, then the kind of things that we do in terms of development, that is what is going to be remembered for. And I must say that through my relationship with him as traditional authority, the Omahin Ofinso, there are so many projects that we brought on board in Ofinso. The first time I went to the traditional council and all what he said was that, in team, you say you want to be a district chief executive. What is it that you want to achieve for Ofinso? Tell me, what is it? And I said three things. What I told Nana was that, Nana, when we talk about a district chief executive, the normal things that you are supposed to do in terms of development and all that, I want to do that. But beyond that, the three critical things that I want to bequeath onto Ofinso is to ensure that Ofinso traditional area is divided into two. It has one district, two constituencies in one district. And I indicated to the Mahins that our system of governance, funds are located not based on constituencies, but through districts. So that when we have a district with two constituencies, the chances are that they are not adequately resourced. So at the end of my tenure, I want to make sure that the district is divided into the two constituencies within the district is divided into Offenso North and then elevation of Offenso South as a municipality, which I did. Then I said that when we talk about Offenso, the critical thing you can recognize, Offenso has to do with our cocoa. Offenso used to be one of the richest districts in terms of cocoa productions in the 60s and 80s. When you see the beautiful buildings in Ashton and all that, they were all built by the farmers, the cocoa farmers. So I indicated to them that because of the advent of the 1983 bushfires that has come to destroy all that, as a young chief executive, what I want to do is that I'm going to revamp that cocoa industry. And indeed, it's something which I did, and then that has also propelled me to the level that I am now. Mr. Speaker, one critical thing I did, indicated to him, which he loved so much, is that I told him that within the 4 years, I'm also going to ensure that when the Offenso North is developed into a district, by the year 2025, I will work to ensure that whatever things that's found in the Offenso municipality, the same thing will be developed in Offenso North. And I am happy to note that with the support of the Offenso, Nana Wiafia content and all that, all the things that were in Offenso North, for example, we used to have 4 senior high schools. Only one was in Offenso North. As we speak, we now have 4 senior high schools in Offenso North, and then Offenso Municipal has 3. Mr. Speaker, the good thing that I did in honor of Norman was to develop a school and then name it after Offenso Nana Wiafia Kente. So as we speak now, we've worked to establish a senior high school that has been named after Nana Wiafia Kente. And I am so happy that most of the things that we discuss in terms of development, with his support and the support of the kinsmen and all the committees around that, we've managed to achieve that. As the Honorable Mutaka said, one thing which I so much cherish about the Nana Wiafia Kente has to do with the fact that he's the only traditional authority, a leader within the Ashanti and most paramountcies that came out that he's not going to allow anybody to mine or even prospect the gold. He doesn't want a situation whereby the river bodies within the traditional areas are going to be destroyed by Galamsey. And because he stood to his feet, when you consider the length and the breadth of the Ofin River, it is only the segments of Ofin River that passes through Efija and Ofin that has not been adulterated through Galamsey. And it's something that I think it should be remembered for. And it is consistent with the vision of His Excellency trying to protect the heritage that's won by us. And it's a good thing that he did. And I want to pray that that exemplary leadership led by the Offenso Traditional Council led by the Nana Wiafia Kente, that no, it's not going to allow a Galamsey in the district. It should be emulated by a number of the traditional areas. If the traditional area partners with the government, there's no way we'll not be able to protect our environment. There's no way we'll not be able to protect our water bodies. And I really respect him in that respect. But, Mr. Speaker, Ashantiman has really lost an icon. Offensoman has really lost an icon, and Ghana has lost an icon. And I, particular, have also lost a great man, a councillor, somebody I take a lot of advice and inspiration from him, and he will really be remembered for that. I thank you for the opportunity given me to eloquize the Omanhene Nana Wiafia Kente, the disease. May his soul rest in peace. Thank you so much.
Mr. Speaker, do you want to say something? Well. As a member of Asuna clan, I know Offenso is one of the key tools of Asuna clan. Like what my honorable member for Abuakwa South said, Ofenso, Ejiso, and Chibi are all Asuna clan stools. Incidentally, they all migrated from Adanse, including other stools like Oyokwo, Bretu, and the rest. Most of the clans migrated from Adanse. My personal encounter with Nana Ofenso, Wiafia Kenten III, established one thing: humility of leadership. He's so humble and prepared to receive anyone who comes to him. I also know that he is a lover of hymns and choral music. And as such, he was a patron to so many choirs, including one of the choir I was a member. So we pray that the good Lord may grant him a smooth passage to his kingdom. Can we rise and give him 1 minute silence of respect? May the soul of Nana Wiafia Kenten III and all the souls of the departed faithful grant in perfect peace. Amen. We move to the second statement, and that statement stands in the name of a member for Pristia Hunivari, Honorable Robert Wisdom Kuju, on the update of Appiatse explosion disaster. Honorable member, you may now read your statement.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for giving another Asuna clan member the opportunity to present this statement. Mr. Speaker, thank you for the opportunity to make this statement and to give update on the deadly disaster which befell on the nation on Thursday, 20th January 2022, which still remain a mystery that I'm unable to bear, as well as the surviving victims. I refer to this day as Black Thursday for the good people of Christian Mudivari, and for that matter, Appiatse people in the Western region. Mr. Speaker, when the incident occurred, there has been a number of statements, press conferences, among others, views and theories. As a result of that, the Western Regional Parliamentary Caucus of the National Democratic Congress paid a visit to the disaster site on Saturday, 29th January 2022, to get a fair first-hand information on the incident. The caucus was led by our chairman, Honorable Emmanuel Amabua Kofi, to meet the local committee which briefed us of the situation. The caucus were first taken to the incident site and later paid a courtesy call on Nana Kuju Atta Brepi II, the overlord of Bepo traditional area. Mr. Speaker, the caucus later addressed the local committee and the victims at the temporary settlement site. The caucus also donated food items, sanitary, clothing to the victims. Mr. Speaker, I want to take this opportunity to also update this August House the current happening as at the time the caucus visited the site. The people who have passed on still stood at 13 when we visited the place. There were 13 injured persons at various hospitals at Bogoso, Takwa, Isian Kwanta, Wasekropon, Komfanochi, and Kolebu. The total number of persons at resettlement camp, according to the local committee, stood at 857. but people were still counting victims, which could rise to over 1,000 people. The victims were moved to the resettlement site on 27th January 2022. The total number of tents, as at the time we visited the site, was 29, and the average number of persons per tent was 13 at the time. The camp is being managed by the local committee headed by the MCE, who is the chairman of the local committee. Mr. Speaker, the victims who have been resettled and camp at the tent prepare their own food. Mr. Speaker, the situation about the total number of people in the tent is still not the best. Just this Valentine's Day, that is Monday, 14th February, I decided to celebrate the Valentine week, the victims, and I was taken around to inspect the tents again. Some of the tents have as many as 21, 24 people in one tent. But more important issue is about in the process of enjoying our chocolates and biscuits, the rain started. And within 15 or 20 minutes time after the rains, I was taken back to inspect the tent. And Mr. Speaker, I realized that some of them have their items and the mattresses wet, which means water can easily seep through the tent and destroy their things. My issue here is that the rain pattern in western region. It will soon start maybe by March, and I believe these people cannot continue to stay in this tent throughout the year. I believe that with the promises from other corporate institutions, the government, and then the fine slap on the company, that is Maxim Company Limited, I think we can put up permanent structures for these people within a year. Mr. Speaker, on 26th of January 2022, the Ministry of Lands and Natural Resources launched Appiatse Fund to be managed by a 5-member committee, which is chaired by one of our illustrious stateswomen, Reverend Dr. Joyce Ai, the founder of Salt and Light Ministry, and also a former Chief Executive Officer of Ghana Chamber of Mines. I commend the Minister for Lands and Natural Resources, and for that matter, the government, for the swift and proactive intervention. But just to note that the overlords of Appiatse, that is Wasaf Traditional Council, Prestia Universal Constituency, the Port Divisional Traditional Council have no representation on the above committee. I therefore urge the Minister for Lands and Natural Resources to revise the membership of the committee to bring at least a member from the traditional area. Mr. Speaker, as the government, corporate Ghana, and individuals are making frantic efforts to support the victims of Appiatse to resettle, my observation as Member of Parliament for the area indicate that Maxim Ghana Company Limited, which caused the explosion, is conspicuously missing in the action with regard to management and support to the victims. Thankfully, Mr. Speaker, a press released by the Minister for Lands and Natural Resources on 7th February 2022 indicates that the government has imposed a fine of 6 million Ghana cedis, $6 million US dollars, or equivalent at the prevailing commercial rate on Maxim Company Limited for regulatory breaches. I have no doubt whatsoever that in the computation of the fines, the rebuilding of Appiatse, compensation to victims, and restitution of all lost properties were taken into consideration. Mr. Speaker, I want also to take this opportunity to call or to draw the attention of Ghana Police Service to its press statement dated 21st January 2022, when the Vice President, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, visited the disaster site to effect that the driver of the escort vehicle assisted the community members to move children of Appiatse Basic School to a safe zone is inaccurate. It must be stated that there is no existing school at Appiatse per Ghana Education Service records, and the escort driver couldn't have vacated school children in the community. As a representative of the people in that area, I wish to urge the police administration to retract and render unqualified apology to the chief and the good people of Christian Valley, for that matter, the victims of Appiatse disaster. On this note, I wish to thank the government, corporate Ghana, and individuals who, out of their own sympathetic hearts, rushed to offer support to the hundreds of victims, and also appeal to other organizations to come to the aid of the victims of Appiatse. I also want to remind the government to honor its promise and speed up the process to putting up decent houses for the victims who have been rendered homeless. Mr. Speaker, at this juncture, we wish healing to the victims who suffered various degrees of injuries, and may the souls of the departed rest in the bosom of the Lord until the last day of the resurrection, when we shall meet again. I thank you, Mr. Speaker, and the House for your attention.
Very well. Appiatse. Yes. Honorable Member for Amanfi West. Yes. Let's hear you.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for the opportunity to contribute my quota to the statement fantastically made by the Honorable Member, Honorable Wisdom Kujo. Mr. Speaker, let me commend him again for his timeous intervention when the calamity broke up at that fateful Black Thursday. He said that the Western Region Caucus, we made a visit. When we went there, we heard from the people that the Member of Parliament did so well. He is the first stakeholder who appeared at the scene when the accident happened to help in the removal of the debris from the highway for the road users to have access to wherever they were going. Mr. Speaker, according to the makeup of the statement, the government has made a lot of interventions. To me, the chief of them, one is the resettlement of the affected people. As we speak now, about 1,000 people are affected. They are displaced. And two, the government has set 2 committees to look into the management of the calamity. Mr. Speaker, one thing I want to bring to the fore, to the House, to everybody in this country, that this is a national disaster. And I repeat myself, this is a national disaster. And I appeal the government not to indulge in politics with the management of the calamity. Mr. Speaker, as we speak now, there have been 2 committees set by the government. The Member of Parliament is one of the major stakeholders in the constituency and in the municipality where people are affected. The 2 committees, the Member of Parliament is not part, neither a rep from the office of the Member of Parliament. Please, I will plead again that the government looks into this very well. Mr. Speaker, once again, the maker of the statement said that currently we don't have a basic school at Appiatse. I recommend to the government, as a matter of agency, to have an emergency basic school there to take care of that problem. Thank you for the opportunity, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you very much. Yes, let him come to Salaga. Salga West.
Salga South, Mr.
Salga
Speaker.
South.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, for the opportunity. And I'll just spend a minute to also express my condolences to the victims and their families, and welcome the statement by my colleague, the MP for the area, Honorable Robert Kujo. The statement has indeed provided some updates to us on the developments in Appiatse since the unfortunate accident. Mr. Speaker, I want to laud my colleague, Honorable Robert Kujo, for being on top of the developments in Appiatse since its occurrence. He's clearly demonstrated that as the representative of the people, he is working for their interest, and so at every turn, he is involved with what is going on. He mentioned spending Valentine's Day with the victims of the accident. I think that is something that we need to commend him for, and hoping that all of us will imbibe some of these attributes. Mr. Speaker, on the issue of Appiatse, we will also want to state government's effort at resettling and rebuilding the community of Appiatse. It was very refreshing hearing the President, His Excellency Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, giving directives that the fine that had been imposed on Maxam Ghana Limited should be used for the reconstruction of the Appiatse community. That, I think the President has to be lauded for. But in saying that, Mr. Speaker, a week before that directive from the President, I followed discussions on the setting up of the Appiatse Relief Fund. And Ghanaians made a certain clarion call on government. And I think for all intents and purposes, that call goes beyond the issues of Appiatse. And what did Ghanaians say, Mr. Speaker? When the minister, the sector minister, announced the formation or establishment of the fund, it became a topical issue for discussion. And on a Joy FM program, I followed the discussions thoroughly. Many Ghanaians phoned into the program, sympathized with the people of Appiatse, sympathized with the government, but they asked for one thing. They were unwilling to contribute to the fund because, according to all these scholars, when COVID struck and we were called upon to make similar contributions, we now asked for the COVID funds to be accounted to us, and we were told that they could not account to us. So people asked, what if we put our money in this fund and tomorrow it is not accounted for? Mr. Speaker, the reason I make this point is that as leaders of our people, we need to understand that whatever we do today becomes the reference point for what we may want to do tomorrow. Probably at the time government was refusing to account for the COVID fund, they didn't know that Appiatse will strike. And Ghanaians made it very loud and clear that they are unwilling to keep putting money into efforts that they cannot ask questions about. I hope government heard, and government will take steps to set aside some of these perceptions so we can move together as a nation. Mr. Speaker, the maker of the statement mentioned the current situation, which includes housing the people in tents. I mean, all of us know that tents, by their very nature, are very temporal housing facilities. But when you think about the impending rainy season, which is set to begin any time from now, I think it poses a little bit of a worrying problem. And I will want to add my voice to urge government to speed up with the effort to find permanent housing for the people of Appiatse so that they are not needlessly exposed to the vagaries of the weather. Mr. Speaker, I also think that the sector minister and his team did a good job by speeding up the investigation, making sure that those who were involved were called to account. I hope corporate Ghana is listening. That corporate institutions should know that when they break the law will come after them. And the law will be there to take care of the vulnerable. With these few words, Mr. Speaker, I want to say thank you for the opportunity and to commend my colleague highly for the update on the Appiatse situation. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
Yes. This is the last statement, the last contributor. Yes, let's hear you. Honorable
Honorable Kofi Akunoku, Right Honorable Speaker.
Very well.
Right Honorable Speaker, I thank you for the opportunity to contribute to this wonderful statement. I must begin by sympathizing with the people of Appiatse, the chiefs, the elders, and the whole township. Mr. Speaker, I happened to be with a group, the Western Caucus, that visited the community. And I must say that seeing it on the news and then vis-a-vis on the ground was another thing altogether. Mr. Speaker, this was a scary thing. But then, it is a lesson that we must learn as a country, that all measures must be put in place to ensure that such a disaster never happens in the history of this country or the entire world. Mr. Speaker, I must begin by commending the chiefs, the MCE, and the leaders. One thing I observed during our visit was the unity of purpose, something that I admired so much. Because, Mr. Speaker, we know what happens at other areas. So, we must begin by commending them for the unity with which they are carrying out whatever they need to do to ensure that the people of Appiatse are sorted out in terms of accommodation, in terms of everything. I wish to also add my voice to the maker of the speaker by commending corporate bodies and Ghanaians in general for the benevolence, the speed at which donations were made. Mr. Speaker, at sight, I was marveled at the donations that had come from all over the country. It is something that we must continue to do because it is something that reflects the friendship, the friendliness, the oneness as Ghanaians. And it is something we must stick to. Mr. Speaker, the maker of the speaker drew our attention to the current state of affairs at the camp. This is a situation where we have people of 20, 30, 40 people in a tent. And Mr. Speaker, we know that the Western region is a place that when the rain starts to come in, it rains heavily. My worry is that if measures are not put in place, if the promise of resettling these people, the promise of putting up accommodations are not pursued, and the rains set in, Mr. Speaker, you can imagine the difficulties, the problems, the hardship our fellow Ghanaians will go through. Mr. Speaker, at sight, I observed one thing, that there is a need for the people to have access to psychological support. So I think the government, as much as we consider medical welfare, medical support for the people, Mr. Speaker, there is a need to get a psychologist aside to help the people to overcome the trauma and the difficult time that they are going through. Mr. Speaker, I wish to end my conclusion. I wish to conclude by again commending corporate bodies and everyone that went to support our brothers. Our prayers are with them, and we continue to echo to the government that the pledges made to put in measures to ensure that our brothers are not left or forgotten. Because, Mr. Speaker, if we lose the steam, if the attention is taken away from these people, the hardship that they will go through will be a problem. So I believe that the support must go on to ensure that they get a second chance at life. I thank you, Right Honourable Speaker, for the opportunity.
Honourable members, we are moving to the third statement. And that statement stands in the name of Honourable Member for Kumbugu, Honourable Dr. Hamza Adam. And the statement is on unpacking the facts of UTAG 2022 transaction, the way forward. Yes, Honourable Member.
All right,
yes,
thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, for the opportunity to make a statement which is a matter of concern to every Ghanaian. Mr. Speaker, the University Teachers Association of Ghana on January 10, 2022 declared an indefinite strike action to demand for better conditions of service. The current strike is one of the series of strikes UTAG has embarked on in recent times to seek for improved conditions of service. Mr. Speaker, it is reported that UTAG entered into negotiations with government to resolve salary anomalies as far back in 2019, when UTAG submitted a conditions of service document containing a number of proposals to the government for consideration. According to UTAG, government exhibited lack of commitment to the negotiations on the proposal made, thereby compelling the association to declare an indefinite strike action in August 2021. Mr. Speaker, the strike action was later suspended upon several meetings and promises by the government to resolving the issues. UTAG and the government, after determining the rules of engagement, went into a one-month negotiations. The items listed for the negotiations included the market premium. According to UTAG, the basic salary was not negotiated because government indicated that it was only the standing joint tripartite committee that could negotiate basic salaries for the public sector workers, which a 7% increase was already determined by the said committee. Mr. Speaker, according to UTAG, government again indicated that the labor market survey was to be completed by October 2021 for the determination of market premium for implementation in January 2022. Therefore, UTAG agreed with the hope that the market premium was to be determined and implemented by the said date. However, UTAG realized that the labor market survey, which is supposed to be a panacea, delayed, and for that reason, determination and implementation of the market premium in January 2022 was not feasible. To this end, UTAG in December 2021 informed government to restore the interim market premium of 114% of current basic salary. This is based on the argument that the interim market premium, which is 114% of the 2012 basic salary, has deteriorated over the years to only 52% of the current basic salary. In other words, UTAG is only asking government to pay the difference of 62% of current basic salary to make up for the 114%. According to UTAG, failure of government to adhere to their appeal compelled them to embark on the current strike action. Mr. Speaker, UTAG strike is of great concern to many due to its enormous negative effects on students, parents, and other stakeholders. Some negative repercussions from the UTAG strike include: it has brought academic activities to a halt over the last 4 weeks and now in the 5th week, which is likely to affect quality of teaching and learning. There is wastage of resources and time, since students have already reported to schools and paid for accommodation and facility user fees, which are time-bound. It is also likely to lead to psychological trauma among some students, especially the fresh ones, since university environment may look strange to them. It may also plunge some students into immoral activities such as cyber crimes, sexual immorality, excessive drinking of alcohol, among others. Indeed, these effects of strike by university academics are well documented in the literature. For example, EGU 2018 summarizes the effects of university strike actions as: 1. It affects students' performance in examinations and facilitates examination practices. 2. It destabilizes the school program and its operations, which lead to production of half-baked university graduates. 3. It decreases research and innovation in tertiary institutions and also leads to low staff output. Mr. Speaker, following the negative effects of the current strike action is having on the citizenry, it is necessary government takes the following steps to urgently end the UTAG strike and to allow restoration of academic work as soon as possible. 1. Government must do all it can to pay the lecturers in the interim, which will at least restore them to the 114% that they are demanding. This will surely bring our lecturers back to the lecture theatres for academic work to resume. After payment of the 62%, as a stopgap measure, it is important for government to expedite action on the determination of market premium for deserving critical skills in the public sector as identified in 2029 Labour Market Survey and development of guidelines for implementation of market premiums. 3. Government must work with UTAG to develop a roadmap suitable for both parties for the restoration of the entry-level salaries of lecturers, which was Ghana cedi equivalent of $2,084 per month in 2012, which has since deteriorated to less than the Ghana cedi equivalent of $1,000 per month. 4. As recommended in 2013 white paper, the current and future governments must ensure that the labour market surveys are conducted every 5 years. Market premiums for critical skills in the public sector determined and guidelines developed for implementation. Government needs to demonstrate commitment to this agreement in order to bring lasting solution to UTAG labor and salary concerns. And then finally, government should in the medium term consider a holistic review of public sector salaries, especially the single spine salary structure which has been operating for more than 10 years now. In conclusion, Mr. Speaker, I am calling on government to take urgent steps to end the ongoing UTAG strike action in order to not to further disrupt the academic calendar, which has already been badly affected by COVID-19. I thank you, Mr. Speaker, for the opportunity to make the statement.
Honorable Minister, I'll give you the opportunity. So let me hear other members before I come to you. Yes, Honorable Dr. Kiria.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for the opportunity to contribute to the statement made by our honorable member. It is important to recognize that our universities have not closed, but our students are not learning. And in the circumstances in which we find them, as I alluded to it, some have come home and other things are happening as he has ably articulated this afternoon. Indeed, our university faculty members should be paid well so that they are not distracted. Generally, the university faculty member is supposed to teach courses. He's also supposed to engage in research and furthermore to engage in community service. The efforts in these areas require total concentration in making sure that our universities are ranked among other universities globally, and that if all they are doing is just repeating the same information, it means our universities don't have what it takes to compete in the global marketplace, and therefore it has some devalue to our graduates from our universities. And when there is ranking in West Africa, in Africa, or globally, you find that our universities are behind. So really, if they get the critical resources that are necessary for them to function, it is key for them to also do their work well and be able to propel this country. About 400 years ago, Europe was dirty. They were not successful in anything. There were so many poor people. It took education to transform that society. And that came with research. The Renaissance all came with research. And so to say that our university teachers are sitting at home, our children are on the campuses, they are not sure of what they are doing, is really not the best situation. And therefore, the negotiated things that they need should be available to them. They have touched on the issue of allowances, market premium, policy on payroll, probably thinking around the fact that if possible to get them off the single spine and have them to participate in another payroll system so that it will near to their advantage. The issue of book allowance has come up many, many times. And as soon as you touch on the issue of book allowance, then the issue of research allowance is also a factor. So the key players in this area should continue to engage so that these issues do not continue to plague our system. It appears there's never an ending to the crisis that creates. And as a result, they resort to the courts. But we do know they go to the courts, and if the court has ruled that they should go back to the classroom, they can go today, and tomorrow they call another strike. So essentially, it doesn't actually end the case. And our appeal to the ministers of education, the Minister for Employment and Labor Relations, and key members of the sector, so that there can be negotiated understanding in which parties are respected and all of them coming together to really come with a result-oriented effort so that they can do so well in that. As it stands, yes, our children are on the campuses. They have gone there as freshmen and freshwomen at all levels. And they are on the campus for 3-4 weeks. What are they doing? The devil finds work for an idle hand. Also, even those who decide to go home, some are coming from as far as Gaboso, going to UDS, and now they have to be transported back. And whenever school is going to start, they have to go again. For some people, it took various members of the community to contribute money so that this first person in the family could enter a university. All of a sudden, he goes and must come back home because they are not doing anything. So the effect of this is so tragic, and that we should not have these situations continuously recurring. And in the short term, we hope that this industrial unrest generally will be addressed by the government and all the ministers involved in those sectors, so that it will show a sign of a sustainable country, peaceful country, and not one that there are all these chaotic things going on and can actually drive away investors. So my point here is, it has been a good effort to portray that the government should stay ahead of this game, so that the children, our next generation, learning from us, could actually get the required skills and competencies critical for their well-being, but also for the university teachers to get the comfort and the critical resources that will enable them to continue their work. Therefore, the key parties should continue to engage, even as the Committee on Education and other committees critical to that could assist and support, so that our universities become institutions of outstanding excellence, and that we can compete in the global marketplace. With these words, thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Well. Yes, let me invite member for Damango.
Mr. Speaker, thank you very much for the opportunity to contribute to this statement. Mr. Speaker, firstly, I believe that all of us in this House ought and are concerned about the education of our children, and therefore, when there is a strike of this nature, we all will be concerned. And to that extent, to have brought the matter to the floor for discussion, Mr. Speaker, and for contribution is commendable. But, Mr. Speaker, a careful examination of the statement will reveal that my colleague friend, honorable member, sought to give a rendition of the facts leading to this unfortunate strike action, and in his mind, the issues involved in the strike action. Mr. Speaker, it is needless to point out that the provisions of our standing orders as they relate to statements is that they ought not to generate debate or disputation. Mr. Speaker, I have taken a very careful look and examination of the statement made, and as I say, the facts rendered by my honorable colleague, and clearly some of the representations made as to what should be the cause of this strike are totally matters that can be disputed. But Mr. Speaker, that is not exactly the point I want to make. The point I want to make is that matters of this nature ought not to be reduced to the usual everyday partisanship. Mr. Speaker, it should not be. It should not be reduced to the usual everyday partisanship, because, Mr. Speaker, if I was to go into the history of the University Teachers Association of Ghana and the genesis of their welfare and issues of their conditions of service, Mr. Speaker, there's a lot to say about it. From President Kufuor's time, when the salary of teachers was migrated from the stage at which it was
to where President Ofori took it to. Indeed, that was the first time in the history of our country when university teachers were retained in the university to teach. A lot of them were leaving our shores, leaving our country to other African countries to teach because the condition of service of teachers in the university was woefully inadequate. So, Speaker, through the issues of the allowances, car allowances, and several other allowances, the effort to upgrade the condition of service of teachers in the university began from President Ofori's time. And in this government of President Akufo-Addo, from the first term to this term, Mr. Speaker, the effort that has been made by the government to upgrade the conditions of service of university teachers is enormous. And Mr. Speaker, just as I pointed out, and I pointed out specifically to Order 70 of the standing orders of this House, Mr. Speaker, to make the point that to the extent...
Honorable, hold on. Yes, Honorable Member for Tamale North. What is it? Sammy?
Thank you very much, Right Honorable Speaker, for the opportunity. Mr. Speaker, my honorable colleague in his submission made reference, without quoting the specific portion, to the standing orders that says that a member statement should not generate debate. Mr. Speaker, even though it's been a long-standing practice of this House, I wish to contest the claim that the statement should not provoke debate. Mr. Speaker, if you look at Article 7, Order 72, Order 72 says, a Minister of State may make an announcement or a statement of government policy. Any such announcement or statement should be limited to facts which is deemed necessary to make known to the House and should not be designed to provoke debate. At this stage, any member may comment briefly, subject to the same limitation. So 72 is in reference to a Minister of State making an announcement or a statement of government policy where it is clearly stated that it should not provoke debate. Mr. Speaker, 72, however, Order 72, however, states that by the indulgence of the House and leave of Mr. Speaker, a member may, at a time appointed for statements under Order 53, explain a matter of personal nature or make a statement on a matter of urgent public importance. Any statement other than a personal statement may be commented upon by the members for a limited duration of time not exceeding 1 hour. The terms of any such proposed statement shall first be submitted to Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, Order 72 is silent on whether a statement can generate debate or not. I submit, Mr. Speaker. Thank you.
So, Honorable Suhini, I'm not clear about what you want to achieve with your intervention. I'm a bit taken.
Yes, Mr. Speaker, I am contesting the claim that the honourable member's statement shouldn't have provoked a debate. He is free to debate if he thinks that there is some issue to be debated as far as the statement is concerned, Mr. Speaker. Thank you.
Well, Honourable Member.
Mr. Speaker, thank you very much.
Yes, move on.
I'll move on, except to say that I have taken note of this observation myself. And Mr. Speaker, since my colleague, out of political expediency and convenience, want to jettison the practice of this, let's jettison and debate the matter. Mr. Speaker, the debate will put this House in good stead. Because as I said...
Honourable Member, don't get there. Just contribute.
Yes, Mr. Speaker, thank you. Mr. Speaker, the matter to do with university teachers, yes, Mr. Speaker, as I said, the strike is unfortunate. We all want to restrain ourselves in a manner that will create a conducive atmosphere for the stakeholders to come to a consensual arrangement so that the teachers can go back to the universities to teach our children and help educate our population. So, Speaker, to that extent, I'll be cautious in what I say. But I want to submit and do so forcefully without a shred of equivocation that when it comes to the condition of service of teachers, we from this side, when we're in government, did 1,000,000 times better than them when they were in government. The records will show it. Mr. Speaker. And as I say, anybody who was who was conversant with the governance of this country under President Kufuor. That was the first time that the salary of teachers and conditions of teachers were upgraded. And this government has done tremendous when it comes to the conditions of service of teachers. And Mr. Speaker, we know of countless strikes which occurred under their regime, countless longer strikes that we have today. But that is not an excuse, and that is not the issue. Mr. Speaker, this matter of the strike ought not to be a subject matter of politics. It shouldn't be a subject matter of petty political squabbling, as the statement sought to do. This statement was just intended to portray the government in bad light and create the impression that government is reneged on its commitment to teachers. That is not correct. The government of President Akufo-Addo will work to resolve this strike and will continue to work to better the conditions of service of teachers. Ours is better than yours when it comes to the record. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you very much. Are you all up to contribute, or you are just going to challenge? But honourable member for Northton, you just entered the chamber and you are up. Let him give the opportunity to the ranking member.
Yeah, Mr. Speaker, thank you very much. Mr. Speaker, I would like to appeal that the Committee on Education has just come out with a meeting with UTAG, the Minister for Employment and Labour Relations, as well as the Minister for Education. And we have reached some level of a consensus. So I would wish that we tone down the debate or the discussion on this statement, so that we don't aggravate the situation as we saw it this morning, and we have come to a consensus on this matter. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So let me then invite Honourable Minister for Labour.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, as the ranking member of Education rightly said, we are just entering the chamber after having a long meeting with all the stakeholders on this UTAG issue. So I was surprised when I came onto the floor and heard a statement on the same issue. Mr. Speaker, as the lead negotiator on behalf of government, I have been very reluctant in making public pronouncements whenever we are negotiating issues within the public space, because whatever you say on air, eventually you will come and sit down with the parties and talk. If you have made your point already known on air, why do you come back to sit and deliberate on again? But Mr. Speaker, this is a house of records. So if the Hansard captures certain concerns which are not corrected, perhaps it will be taken to be fact. And for that reason, I will want to respond to some of the issues raised by my honourable colleague. Throughout the statement, my honourable colleague referred to stance of UTAG on the issues, but not even on a single occasion did I hear him mentioning the government side. I thought perhaps by preparing such a statement, he will have also inquired from the government side efforts that have been made and results coming out of that record. Mr. Speaker, to set the record straight, engagement with UTAG started way back in 2017. When UTAG made a representation to government that they wanted the book and research allowance that is given to university teachers be reviewed. As of that time, Mr. Speaker, university lecturers were taking 500 Ghana cedis as research allowance per annum. after negotiations, this figure was increased from 500 Ghana cedis to 1,500 Ghana cedis, and subsequently has been increased from 1,500 Ghana cedis to the equivalent of 1,600 USD, or in today's exchange rate terms, 10,000 Ghana cedis. Mr. Speaker, we have been negotiating with UTAG, and at any point...
Honorable Minister, hold on. I'll give the ranking member. I'm giving the ranking member. Ranking member, let me hear you.
Yeah, Mr. Speaker. I think in my earlier submission, I said that we had just come out of a meeting and the negotiations had not been completed. I wasn't expecting the Honorable Minister to start telling us what they have done so far. So I will wish that the Minister ended it there, so that this does not generate into an agreement, because if negotiations have not been completed and you as the leader of a government delegation, you start giving out figures, I think those who are agitating for better conditions of service may not be happy with this. So I will wish that the minister just inform us or give us the assurance that he's leading the government delegation and that they were looking into things rather than beginning to give us figures and whatnot. And the other party is not here to also argue for themselves. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Well. Honorable Minister, I know you want to give us the rare fact, but handle in such a way that it wouldn't generate anything. So let's hear you.
Mr. Speaker, I respect your guidance, but just to say that government has acted in good faith and is ever willing to continue negotiations with UTAG. We want due process to be followed, and I have given them an assurance that if today they call off the strike, I wouldn't mind asking that we lock ourselves in the room and make sure that we finish negotiations before we come out. So government is ever willing to sit down with UTAG, and we have always demonstrated that willingness to negotiate with them. So, Mr. Speaker, I want to assure this House and to assure the country that government is ever ready to judge with UTAG to bring life back to the universities. I will await the report of your committee on education to be laid in this House, and when it is being debated, perhaps as advised by you, that will be the time I will lay the facts on the part of the government negotiating team. So I respect your ruling, and once again, I want to thank the maker of the statement. Thank you.
Well. Mr. Speaker, I'll give you the opportunity. Hold on a bit for me. Mr. Speaker, I'll give you the opportunity. Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I'm going to suggest that, in view of the suggestion by the ranking member, which has been graciously taken by the minister, if you don't curtail the debate, the situation will get worse. Because if any misinformation is put out, others will be compelled to respond to it. So, in view of the situation as agreed by the minister and the ranking member, I think the contribution to this statement should be brought to a close. I thank you.
Well noted. I'm not going to, unless, even the minister has also declined to talk. Honorable members, to allow a congenial atmosphere for the negotiation. Honorable members, contribution to this particular statement is over. We are moving to the fourth statement. Honorable members, we have a joint statement Honorable members, we have a joint statement that has been put up by two members of parliament from Techimai, that is Techimai North and South, on the passing, the demise of Honorable George Kwabena Owusu, the former member. I understand he is going to be buried over the weekend. So we listened to both members of parliament. In fact, last week, the member for Techimai North had wanted to read a statement, but we realized that Honorable Martin has also put up another statement. So we decided to wait till both of them come to the chamber so that they all read the statement. So we will invite them. Honorable member, last week you were here, so you start and Honorable Martin also read, and together we invite contributors to it. So, Honorable member, let's hear you.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker, for the opportunity to make a statement on the demise of Honorable George Kwabena Owusu, a member of Parliament for Techimai South constituency of the First Parliament of the Fourth Republic. Please. Yes. Mr. Speaker, a German philosopher, Atta, once said, and with your permission, I quote him, "A man finds himself, to his great astonishment, suddenly existing after thousands and thousands of years of non-existence. He lives for a little while and then again comes to an equally long period when he must exist no more. He rebels against this and feels that it cannot be true." Right Honorable Speaker, my heart is saddened and in deepest sorrow as I present this statement to formally announce to the House the passing away of Honorable George Kwabena Owusu, a one-time member of this August House on the ticket of the National Democratic Congress for Techimai South constituency. Mr. Speaker, Honorable G.K. Owusu, as he was affectionately called, was born on the 29th day of May, 1938, in the Abuno East region, capital of Techimai. He began his elementary education at Techimai Methodist School. He continued to Apam Senior High School, where he obtained his sixth form qualification. Mr. Speaker, the late G.K. Owusu, after Apam Secondary School, left the shores of Ghana to further his education in the United Kingdom. He was admitted to the London School of Accountancy to pursue accountancy. After studying management in North East London Polytechnic, he later graduated as a chartered accountant. Prior to his entry to Ghana's parliament, he had practiced accounting and occupied a lot of managerial roles in many organizations, such as GIHOC, Ghana Food Distribution, African Timber and Plywood Limited, Samriboy, and then Fisa Kingsley Limited in London. Mr. Speaker, the late G.K. Owusu became the first NDC parliamentary candidate for Techimai South in the Fourth Republic when multi-party politics began in 1992. He won the parliamentary election held on 29 December 1992 and was sworn in the first parliament of the Fourth Republic on 7th January 1993. The late G.K. Owusu represented his constituents in the Legislative House until he lost his candidacy to Honorable Kwadwo Mahama Adams before the conduct of the 1996 general election. Honorable G.K. Owusu was found worthy of appointment to the seat of Deputy Regional Minister in the then Bono Ahafo region. As a chartered accountant, he contributed to the introduction of value-added tax, which is now one of the most reliable streams for the national economy. He also served as the parliamentary nominee for the African, Caribbean, Pacific and European Union. Mr. Speaker, if this House may recall, one of his fond memories was the controversy arising out of his question on the floor concerning the establishment of Ghana Telecom in his constituency, Techiman South. Mr. Speaker, the man in question really paid his dues to the development of corporate Ghana and parliamentary democracy. He served his country in truth and in humility. He exhibited calmness and professionalism in both public and private life. He eschewed political violence. Throughout his political life as a member of parliament and a deputy regional minister, not a single evidence of political hooliganism could be associated with him or against him. This is an exemplary life worthy of emulation by political leaders, especially at a time that political vigilantism has become topical in our national politics. Following his demise on 11th August 2021, his mortal remains is scheduled for interment on 19th February 2022. He is survived by his beautiful wife, Mrs. Dora Ross Owusu, and 7 children. Personally, I am saddened because the late G.K. Owusu and my father, I.K. Mensa, of blessed memory, had a lot of things in common. They both grew up in Techiman. They both went to Apam Secondary School. They left Ghana the same day to go to London to go to school. When they came back to Ghana at different times, they entered Parliament at the same time. As if these were not enough, he became my father's deputy minister when my father became the minister for Bono Ahafo region. They served Ghana well. They helped in the development of then Bono Ahafo region. May Honorable G.K. Owusu rest peacefully. I thank you for the opportunity to make this statement.
Yes, Honorable Martin, let's hear you.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker, for this opportunity to contribute to the statement in honor of the memory of our late former MP for Techiman South, the Honorable George Kwabena Owusu. Indeed, Mr. Speaker, parties come and hearts are broken. Loved ones go with words unspoken. Mr. Speaker, it's an honor to contribute to this statement in honor of Mr. G.K. Owusu, an uncle, a colleague, a teacher, a father, and an honorable. In whatever role we knew him, and from whatever vantage point, he stood apart as someone special. The Speaker, as has been said, he was born on the 29th of May, 1938, on a Tuesday in Techiman. He was initially named Kwabena Boy by his father, Stephen Yao Owusu, and his mother, Mami Adua Pukua, all of Tusuase within the Techiman municipality. He was known for his brilliance in academics. He performed well in the middle school level certificate examinations. Based on this, he was sent abroad to further his education. Subsequently, Mr. Speaker, when he returned to Ghana, he worked in the private sector. He began his political career in 1992 when he became the parliamentary candidate for the National Democratic Congress to represent the Techiman South constituency. Mr. Speaker, he was sworn into this parliament, and it is a fact that G.K. Owusu became one of the pioneers of this Fourth Republic. His significant contribution to our parliamentary democracy is outstanding. Mr. Speaker, he was a unifying figure. He was affable and very principled. He brought all manner of people together regardless of political persuasion. Under his leadership, the Chiman witnessed development. Unfortunately, Mr. Speaker, as has been said, he lost his position to his fellow party comrade, Kojo Mahama Atta, before the 1996 general elections. Mr. Speaker, he will be fondly remembered for his exploits in this House. He is credited to have mooted the introduction of the value-added tax, which triggered the sensational Kumipreko demonstrations nationwide. Mr. Speaker, he was first married to Madame Edith Ekua Konedu, with whom he had 4 children. He consequently remarried Dora Ross, his current wife, with whom he had 3 children. Mr. Speaker, the magnanimous man, George Kobe, is survived by 7 children and a wife. He fought a good fight, and he will be remembered for his contribution to our democratic practice. Mr. Speaker, with these few words, I would like to thank the maker of this statement and your good self for the opportunity to contribute to it. Thank you.
So you are also a maker of the statement. Both of you. Anyway, yes. Dr. Koradonko.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for the opportunity to contribute this statement that eulogizes one of those gentlemen in Bron Ahafo politics. He was the accountant's accountant. He was a professional par excellence. And this was a man who put himself forward at a time when most professionals thought the Fourth Republic, birthed by the 1992 Constitution, was a republic birthed by veranda boys and people with their professional and academic credentials. He put himself forward to serve the good people of Bonachempim, the PACA of Bonachempim, teaching man, Akan PACA. He came forward to serve these people. He did not just serve out of haughtiness, but he served with humility. He served with humility. And it was not surprising that he became a deputy regional minister when the government of the day, believed they needed somebody who could bring all the factions together and move the region forward in development. They did not find anybody better than the late parliamentarian. This was also somebody who, when he lost an internal primaries to Comrade Kojo Mahama, did not go the way most politicians who lose internal elections go. He rallied behind Kojo Mahama and the NDC. He rallied behind his party and served his party, his community, and his constituency well. Mr. Speaker, there are a few lessons I take from his life. The first one is a life of humility. The second is a life of professionalism. A professional chartered accountant in the days where we didn't have too many of them. Qualified both in Ghana and the United Kingdom to practice the accounting profession. But above all, his track record of practice was unblemished. Mr. Speaker, I believe generations of politicians and professionals to come can take a cue from the life of this noble son of Bono Chempim. Mr. Speaker, I add my voice to those of the makers of the statement to say, may his soul rest in perfect peace. May the ancestors and the angels, the heavenly host, welcome him as a parliamentarian who truly served his people. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for the opportunity.
Thank you very much. It appears all of us are new. We don't seem to know the late honorable member. So, on that note, let me give the opportunity to leadership. Leadership. Well. So, can we rise and give him 1 minute silence? May the soul of Honorable George Kwabena Owusu and the soul of all departed faithful rest in perfect peace. Amen. Leadership, any indication?
Mr. Speaker, that's about all for the day. I recommend we bring the proceedings to an end. Thank you.
Yes, available leaders.
Speaker, I'm in support of the motion for the House to be adjourned, save that we'll have to have an indication as to tomorrow, being Friday. We prefer that we come early in the morning at 10 a.m. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Well, the time is beyond 2, so we don't need any special motion. So we move ahead to adjourn the House to tomorrow. Is it 10? 10?
10, Mr. Speaker.
Well. So tomorrow we are coming at 10 a.m., 10 o'clock in the forenoon. Honorable members, the House stands adjourned.